What's up, chess player? Today I want to share with you something really special, namely the puzzle that's gonna tell you whether you have that innate chess talent. Because I have shown this position to so many people and the vast majority of it got it wrong. So let's see if you can figure it out. Let's get to it. This part of the board basically exists to make this position real, because the king can never move, as this pawn is gonna go down and promote into a queen, the game is over, whereas this pawn can't also move because the king is gonna pick it up and then white is easily winning. So basically what we have here is these three connected passers against the king, and what I want you to do right now is to write in the comments what your gut feeling tells you, whether the pawns should be winning, whether the king is gonna outplay the pawns, or the outcome of the game should be a draw. If you want, you are welcome to invest a few minutes trying to understand that on your own, trying to shuffle the pieces around, because it's really incredibly useful exercise. But please, before continuing watching, let me know in the comments what's your opinion, who is going to be stronger. So let's try to make some variations here on the board. So obviously the pawns should go forward, so let's start doing it. Let's say a4. The king, once again, obviously should go forward, so king to b7. Let's just proceed with it. King goes to b6 and c4. So we have all of the three pawns in a row. Seems like it's an ideal structure for white. The question is, where should this king go? Let's say it goes to a6 just to make sure that those pawns don't come forward, or at least to make it more difficult. Well, let's say white plays c5, and now there is no way for the king to go to b6, so it goes to b7. Then let's go forward. King a7, a5. Let's just try some straightforward variation. And now king goes to b7, once again trying to stop all of the pawns. Now let's say we play b6 because we want the king to get to one of the sides so the other pawn can go forward. So let's say king a6, we go c6, and now there is no way for the king to stop the pawns. If the king takes, then obviously one of the pawns promotes and white wins the game. If the king goes here backwards, then those pawns are just too strong, and one of them will definitely promote here. So that is once again 1-0 for white. So now back to the initial question. What do you think now, whether white should win this game or not? Once again, you can let me know in the comments. But I'm gonna show you more variations here because the puzzle is much more tricky than you might think of it. So a4, king b7, b4, king b6, c4. What if in this critical position, when you have three pawns in a row, the king will not go to either of the side, but will go back to b7 and be in the center? Because what it gives is access to all of the key squares here on the 6th rank, so that we don't care which pawn is going to go forward, we are just gonna block it. a6, king a6, and now the only possible move for white to go on is c5, but then the king goes to b5 and it's controlling everything, and basically white loses because no matter which pawn you move, the king will take it and all of the other pawns will fall down as well. Back to this critical position. If you try to push the b pawn, then king goes to b6, and once again there is no continuation for white. a5, you just take it, and there is no way to go on. If you push the c pawn, then once again the same thing. You play king to c6, a5, you play king to b5, and game is over. So what do you think now, whether it means that black is winning in this position? Well, before you think that way, let me try it again. So I'm gonna start with a4, king goes to b7, and now instead of the move b4, I'm gonna play the move c4 because I want to be a little bit more tricky. So let's say the king goes forward just to stop all of the pawns, and now we already know that if we play b4 and have this pawn structures, and the king just goes to b7 and black wins. But what if we play b3 instead? That is much more tricky, because if you play king to b7 now, then b4, and that's the other way around, now it's black to move. If the king goes to either one of the side, then we can push another pawn and once again try to trick black. So what should black do? Let's say king to b7, b4, king goes away. Well, we need to always push the pawn on the other side, so that's what we do. King goes to b7. Now we play the move c5, and once again we are very tricky because there is no way for black to stop all of the pawns. If you go to this side, or let's say king c6 is a little bit more active, then you just play a6, and there is no way to go forward. The pawn will promote, so you have to go back. But then we play b5, and the king has to go back. And once we have our pawns on the 6th rank, that is winning for white. Okay, so let's go back then. What do you think now? Before I tell you the final answer, who is gonna be winning here? Well, I hope you have got it correctly, because with the right play, this starting position is entirely winning for black. Yes, the king is stronger than 3 connected passers, as incredible as it might sound. So, let me show you the correct variations here. So I'm gonna start with this tricky line a4, c4, and b3. This one is still perfectly fine for black. You just need to be a little bit careful. You can still go basically either way here. Let's say king a6. Because now if you play b4, you already know what to do. So this pattern, when you have 3 connected passers, you should learn by heart, because it's gonna be very useful for you. This way the king has access to all of those squares and an easy way to win. So that is not an option for white to go on. But c5 is a perfectly legitimate move instead, and now king to a5 is not a good option, because there is b4 for white, and white is winning, the king has to go back, and there is no way to save the game afterwards. You just don't play b5 here, you play instead the move c6. And then king b6, you play the move b5, and there is no way to stop the pawns. Once again, they reach the 6th rank. So you don't go to a5 here, instead you go to b7. And basically you want to block the c6 pawn here, and the tricky part here is what happens if white play a5. Try to pause the video for a second and find the best move, because hopefully you have already got the pattern here. And once you do that, you're able to realize where the king should go. Okay, I hope you have got it correctly. The right move is king to b8, because the king always needs to stay in the center if it has an opportunity to do that way, because it allows the king to go both sides and catch the pawns. So if a6, definitely we are going here and the game is basically over. c6 is the same thing, so the only legitimate move is b4. But now what? I guess it's very simple for you, just king to b7 back, none of the pawns moves, and if b5, of course, you know at this point what is the right move, king to b8 back, and the same story as before, it doesn't change anything that the king is already on the back rank, it's still winning for black, because if you play b6, then king going here, catches all of the pawns and you lose all of them one by one. If this pawn goes, then the same story as last time, the king goes to b6 and once again controls all of the squares, so black is winning this position. So I hope you have done it correctly. I'm very curious to know your opinion. Share it with me in the comments and tell me whether you would like more of such videos on my channel. I hope you enjoyed it, and in this video you're gonna see an incredible game, so you can learn so much out of it and bring your chess to the next level.